After seeing the drama and fallout of Battlefront 2 pay-to-win loot boxes, losing 8.5% of share prices, and a real loss of around $3.1 billion according to Forbes, hi-rez have said, "Buckle in boys, this sounds like a great idea, we're gonna do it too!" Jokes aside, I'm going to be as brutally honest as possible. I'm a Paladins content creator, love the game, and being a part of the community, but this is a step too far. Worth mentioning, and often an afterthought in other news, is that it's only on the public test server currently. But the concept of a tier progression, packaged in loot boxes with pay-to-win elements and keys, I wholeheartedly disagree with. Also, the damage to the game and hi-rez has already started, with IGN running a front page article, Kotaku too, along with other games news sites, and even a top R-Games subreddit post with almost 6,000 points as it stands. I'm also not convinced by hi-rez tweaking the system. I'll get into that in a bit with the card values and a recent change that essentially made it minusculely easier to grind lower levels. In short, I don't think the system can stay or be tweaked. It needs to be dumped. To break the basics down, if you didn't already know, Paladins has currently implemented on the public test server PTS a new grinding system for cards that players use on champions called Cards Unbound, and new customized playstyles essentially. Currently on the live version, which hasn't been updated yet and isn't planned to for a week, you can get cards for opening chests and getting the cards or duplicates of cards for a crafting resource essence that you can use to craft a particular card. You can also get some of this essence through daily in-game quests. Or was it good? No, it wasn't the worst either. What really made it tolerable was that there were no directly better cards than others, and honestly hi-rez were pretty good at balancing, especially legendary cards, to level out the playing field. Further, each loadout had a 12-point limit over 5 cards, and you could choose a power level 1 to 4 of each card, but these power levels were not linked to any grind as long as you own the card. In real terms, some combinations of cards were better than others, but it wouldn't have too much effect until you were high level or in rank, to be honest, using specific patch-related meta builds. Sure, you could buy chests with crystals and buff the chance of getting certain cards with keys, but was it pay to win? Because of what I mentioned, I would have considered it walking a fine line, seeing as pay to win is fairly subjective. Is there a direct link to what you could buy with real money, hastening the grind? Well, as the cards were on a more level playing field, not so much. In the new system though, you no longer have to grind individual cards for your decks. But, and this is a huge but, the cards now have power levels that can only be unlocked by opening loot chests and getting duplicates of the same card. They've also made it so you can have up to 25 points on a single deck rather than 12 in their quick play, previously known as casual. The only saving grace for this system is that they're making it so that you have all cards unlocked at level 3 in the game in competitive play, or the ranked mode, which thankfully you'll not be able to use higher or lower levels. There are, however, big problems with balance in the fact that casual is now like an overcharge mode, whilst ranked is an undercharge mode, which A, how will you balance for the two, and on that note, how the hell will you balance anything with everyone on an uneven playing field, and B, people practice and find their feet in quick play, and ranked is just usually for your serious mode and serious play. The reality is the majority of people that play the game just play casuals, and honestly it's about to get ruined. But this isn't the focus of my video, but is still a big negative of the changes. The PTS gameplay is very messy. Anyway, to put into context the levels of ordinary cards between a new player and an old player or paid player, Xin, a champion that can go into temporary invincibility, has a card Fan the Flames, which once getting a kill, a percentage of your ability below is reduced. This ability has a 15-second cooldown, and one of the legendary cards, Big Cards, allows you to heal most of your health during this ability. So at level 1 this is 20%, 3 seconds off, and at level 5 it's 100% or 15 seconds, a huge advantage. Before, this was limited by the fact you were min-maxing your loadouts, and often you're building around a specific legendary card to get the best effects, but without the 12-point limit, a new player is at a monumental disadvantage with level 1 card. This is quite honestly a joke when you put it into context. It beggars belief that they thought it was okay. Sure, it is an extreme example, but it is by no means isolated. Again, it is only in quick play, but as a most played mode, this is awful. What's even more damnable is a difference in legendary cards, these big cards that you build around. And this is where some ways this is worse than Battlefront 2, worse than what they put out and everyone got angry about EA for. For example, Fernando's new card, Dragonfire Lance, changes his weapon from a flamethrower into a fireball automatic firing type deal thing. But unforgivably, the first level is 50 damage per shot, whilst the level 5 card is 150 damage. What are you thinking, hi-rez? I'm honestly flabbergasted at who thought this was okay. Direct damage upscaling is the worst, and it doesn't stop there. Lots of champions have damage amp cards and similar things, and it's flatly just hot garbage. Now, to put the grind into context, there are two current ways to get cards. The first is a chest that you can currently purchase with gold and in-game currency earned through match rewards and quests, but hi-rez have stated this is temporary, and in all likelihood they want to monetize it again. However, even without this, players can spend real money to buy keys with premium currency to ensure that you can get legendary cards and pay more for a specific champion category. Plus, players can boost for XP and gold earned on their account, which before would have been relatively fine, but now any extra grind will put players at a very literal and measurable advantage. The second way is to open a champion chest for a single champion, and you get one at each mastery level, and it's every few champion levels essentially, and you get 5 cards for that champion, which you might think sounds quite a lot. But to put into context how huge this grind is currently, and I'm going to have to explain another silly element now, in Paladins, cards have common, rare, and epic rarities for normal cards, which offer mostly minor changes to your play, and the legendary is the big card you pick 1 of 4 at the start of the match and has a major change that you often build around. But why there are common, rare, and epic rarities when the common-ish cards, the normal cards, shouldn't be that different? Well, who the frell knows? I got off topic, but it's important as common takes a total of 42 duplicates to max out, 42 cards. Each Radiant chest contains 3 drops, and 4 drops if you have an account booster. And worst of all, in these Radiant chests you might actually get skins, sprays, or emotes, as these are the same chests you grind your cards from for your account. Not only that, but you can even get duplicates of cards you've maxed out. Going back, the epic cards have slightly less duplicates of 14, but they also have a much rarer drop chance. How rare is not explicit, but you aren't going to have fun trying to get them, I can assure you of that. And the more damning thing is the legendary cards. These are central to your builds and gameplay and have massive effects, letting you use an ability twice, big damage reductions, making an ability better, and these have a very low drop chance in the Radiant chest, maybe 5%, again a guess. And to max one out you need 10 of these cards. There are 4 per champion and 34 champions currently. I don't even want to think about how hard the grind is for a free player, but to put it into context, I went into the public test server which has unlimited currency and open chests with the frontline key, the key only for tanks in the game, each one costing 200 crystals normally and 150 on discount, the premium currency, and spent over 20,000 of these crystals, which is about £300, and didn't get a single fully leveled up legendary card for a champion. Now, we did get quite a few close, but so many champions still had 2s and 3s, and you'll be spending thousands of pounds for all the champions to be unlocked. It's almost an insurmountable grind for anyone actually playing the game. Even buying them is only in the grasp of mega whales. This is obviously something that can change with tweaking, and the part I most fundamentally disagree with is that the cards will be directly better or worse depending on either how much you've spent in the game or how much time and how lucky you've been in the grind. But this value is actually lower than the original grind, as hi-rez made a conscious change to how many cards you need, with common going from, wait for it folks, 43 cards to 42 needed. Great! They basically shifted the grind so higher level cards require more and lower require less. In short, I have very little faith in the response to band-aiding this system. Not to mention the fact that the grind being only in random loot boxes is bad in of it itself, first with the lightness of gambling and younger people being involved, but it seems more and more that we're close to the bubble being burst, with lawmakers in Europe and America pushing for controls on these things, and China taking small steps by making developers publish percentages for every drop. Also, how the hell are you supposed to play any of the newer champions in quick play? It'll be almost impossible to have a good loadout for them early on. You're literally at the mercy of the randomness of the loot boxes. Even a player that's been playing for ages is going to struggle. And what makes this all worse is that the Paladins format is a 5v5 competitive shooter. Putting people on an uneven playing field is just frustrating. And the matchmaking isn't going to be good enough currently with the player base Paladins has to make sure only the newest new players are put against each other. There'll be big differences in matches. I already am put into matches with the best players in the world, playing for Fnatic and NIP, and players that have hardly ever played any matches because it struggles to find them a good matchup on both sides. The public test server itself is already wildly unbalanced, with a lot of players having level 1s and 2s of cards versus level 5s, and they are only split by how much time they've invested into opening the loot boxes themselves, as there is an unlimited currency on there. You can only guess how big of a mess the live servers will be. I sincerely would not want to be a new player trying out this game. And for all the veterans, they're giving them a massive grind that they didn't have before. People have put thousands of hours into the game, and giving them retroactively a diminished currency back from the essence to gold, which is actually lower than the gold to essence. And also they're going to have to be sat there going through the Radiant chests, which take 3 seconds every time you open a chest to open them up. It's so messy. I mean, I can see what hi-rez are thinking with the idea of an Arcadia mode. Heck, I've even asked for custom matches that resemble Overwatch's arcade mode, where you can do silly things. But why? Why are you making this not something separate to the casual mode that most people play, and relatively competitively now? So at its core, my beef with this new system is that it's blatantly weighted against a new player and pretty much anyone that isn't a whale with thousands of smackaroos to throw around, and people perhaps shouldn't be spending that much money on microtransactions anyway. Sure, you can still play ranked mode with a fair loadout, but pushing this grind model affects the most played mode in the game currently. Not everyone wants the stress of ranked, and anyway it will fundamentally be knock-on affected by the balance they will have to do to the cards, and the limit that having only level 5 and level 3s will have on your loadout. I quite frankly think it'll all be a mess. And already with Paladins being a little wobbly on the player base side, it boggles the mind that they would do something so controversial now, and in the face of other free-to-play games rising on Steam that have much better practices. For example, Battlerite has similar loadouts for the characters. Once you've locked a champion, there you are, you have everything right away. And I can't talk for the finance side. Not every company is Valve dropping Dota 2 free-to-play with everything unlocked without cosmetics, really being the bastion of free-to-play good practice, but with a publisher that can weather an initial hit, not so much a problem for Valve. And most people tolerated the counterbalance of some grind in Paladins, but I still think it was somewhat off-putting in its state before. This new system is a joke, plunging the game headfirst into pay-to-win territory and making the grind so much more awful. I really hope that hi-rez will completely roll back the cards Unbound system. I know others might disagree, and I've seen other YouTubers be much more light, but I don't think a tiered balance and a grind through RNG chest has any place in a game like this. There's no amount of tweaking that would make this good. Plus the amount you have to scale the grind down to be anything other than an instant turn-off would be many, many magnitudes lower. Anyway, be sure to let hi-rez know what you think, but as always, don't hassle individual developers. They will probably have little to do with it, and it won't get you anywhere anyway. Be respectful, engage in logical debate on Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, and forums, and any other social media, plus also let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, folks, Joshino, oh boy.